Kalau kita kena bersin ataupun batuk, kita kena bersin dengan batuk dengan cara yang betul. Kalau tidak, kita akan menyebabkan droplets itu akan ke udara, iaitu mungkin akan menjangkiti orang lain. Jadi itu bergantung pada cara kita amalkan budaya dan ataupun cara bersin dan batuk kita. Jadi kita kena amalkan langkah-langkah pencegahan yang betul, dan saya kalau kita amalkan penjarakan sosial, memakai pelitup hidung dan muka di tempat awam, dan kalau kita bergejala dan juga kerap mencuci tangan, elakkan kawasan yang sempit dan juga kawasan yang sesak, kita mungkin dapat memutuskan rantaian jangkitan.
Hi, Dato'. Dr. Out of the 8,677 positive cases, how many of them are asymptomatic cases? That's the first question. The second question is with the potential presence of asymptomatic carriers in society, right? Is doing body temperature checks at business premises like restaurants, shopping malls, are they effective, and is it necessary? Thank you.
Thank you. If you look into our figures, so far as of yesterday, 7th of July 2020, we have a total of 8,674 cases, of which asymptomatic 6,092 cases, and symptomatic 2,282 cases. So asymptomatic 70.25%, and symptomatic 29.75%. One of the reasons is because we are doing the targeted approach screening. For example, in EMCO or targeted or semi-enhanced MCO or targeted EMCO. So we are screening everyone, whether you have symptoms or no symptoms. So during that period of time, so we detected more asymptomatic patient. And you have seen the targeted approach, for example, from the market community as well as old folks home, and we are doing the screening even though they do not have symptoms. And even in the Staffy school, 80% of them asymptomatic and 20% about symptomatic. So you look into the overall figure, 70.25% asymptomatic and 29.75% symptomatic. So again, we are actually detecting more asymptomatic in our community. So, but important is that we detect them early because of the targeted approach in a certain high-risk group that we identified in terms of locality and in terms of the groups. So we will continue to enhance our surveillance and testing. For example, Aili cases and Sari cases, they are symptomatic. But pre-operative testing, they are asymptomatic for COVID-19 because they have symptoms they are going for surgery for other reasons, but they are asymptomatic. But we are also testing them. So far, we have done all our cases, whether emergency, semi-emergency, and requiring surgery, we will do the testing COVID-19. And looking at the temperature, yes, temperature will detect positive symptoms. If they have symptomatic, you can detect them. In terms of infectivity, we would, if they are asymptomatic all along, probably the infectivity is very, very low. But if it's pre-symptomatic, that means 2 days before they get symptoms, that's the time that they can be infective to other people nearby. For example, if they're exposed 2 days before they have symptoms, the infectivity is very high at that point in time. But we are not able to differentiate the asymptomatic, we have no symptom at all, which is a very low risk of infection, and those pre-symptomatic, yes, that is actually before they get the symptom. So before they get the symptoms, they come to the hospital, you have managed to detect them, we will do the contact tracing, reverse backwards to see who has been exposed to the individual the last 2 days, for example. So these are the active measures that we are taking, active trace and track, and we are able to look into the close contact and isolate them as soon as possible. So if we can isolate them as soon as possible, we can prevent them from infecting other people.
Dato', congratulations again on the 0 local transmissions today, the second time. We wanted to ask you about the clusters at the immigration detention centres. We only see 3 cases left now. Most of them have been discharged. It's been more than a month since the spike in cases happened in the not just one detention center, but at least 4 or 5. Do we know the source of infection yet in these detention centers? Just wondering if the ministry has found out. Thank you.
So what we do know at the moment is you look into our modelling. We are using the SIR modelling. It shows that if the modelling for the locals is within the prediction, that means we are complying with the SOP. But when we include the foreigners, for example, then you can see the spike. The highest spike that we have is 277 during the outbreak in the detention center. And this is because when we do the EMCO in certain areas, for example, Selangor mentioned, etc., so we condone the area and then we swap them for local as well as the foreign workers, whether legal or illegal. So we do for everybody. And then once we have done that, upon the completion of our quarantine isolation for 2 weeks there, and we have actually detected those positive cases, and then we'll isolate them and then put them into our hospital. So we have used our temporary hospital, MAIPS, whereby we have treated more than 1,300 plus individuals there, and then so we have isolated them. Those positive, and when we detain them in our detention center, we have actually put them in academy centers for the immigration academy centers in Port Dickson. So we have isolated them there for 14 days, and then we'll swap them the second time, and that's where we found a few of them positive again. And then once positive, we have to admit them to a hospital and isolate them and treat them there. So this is the mitigation that we have in terms of looking into the illegal. These are the illegal. The legal documented migrants, when they're tested negative, we release them just like our local after the EMCO. But the illegal undocumented migrants, so the immigration department has actually detained them in our detention center. So, and then we test them and make sure that they are negative for that. So I think this has been done, and we managed to contain them. Can you imagine the outbreak 277 in the community rather than in the detention center? Today in the detention center, we already managed to control the spread. But if it's in the community, 277 in the community, they would have actually spread to other people. So this is the reason why I think the containment is important for us, to test those positive, and we treat them equally in our hospital. In terms of feeding them, testing is free, and for the 14 days in our MAIPS hospital, the government spent millions of ringgit to build the temporary hospital to treat the patients in that center. So I think this is the initiative we have done, and we have been fair. There's no discrimination when we do the EMCO or TMCO or the SMCO, because when we come down to that area, whoever you are, local, foreign, legal, illegal, all that will be tested. Then the illegal will be managed by the immigration department. So they will be put in the detention center, and the most important is to make sure they are negative and deport them as soon as possible.
DG, thank you for explaining, but we wanted to know, how did the migrants or the undocumented, the detainees, how were they infected when they were they infected inside the detention centers, or were they infected before they went in?
From our observation investigation, and we know that one of the reasons for the infection among the foreign workers is the cramped accommodation that they have. So in that sense, we have actually discussed the Ministry of Human Resource to look into the acts to make sure that they can have their welfare as well as accommodation has been, and the housing for the foreign workers been taken care of. I think it's been implemented. In 1st of September, then the enforcement will come in. So now I think employers has been informed about the proper requirement of the housing for the foreign workers, and the welfare for the foreign workers as well, in terms of their medical checkup and etc. So that has been also been dealt with. But what about those undocumented illegal immigrants? So they also stay in a very cramped place, and maybe because of that, if one person get infected, and most of them will get infection as well. So we also realized that 285, if I'm not mistaken, of these illegal immigrants or undocumented or documented migrants attended the Perhimpunan Sri Petaling. So that's the reason why when we look into the link, and in Pasar Borong, for example, they work in Pasar Borong, and that's where the infection starts to spread. So we managed to contain the spread by implementing the EMCO in the Pasar Borong area, and we screen everybody there and isolate those positive, and also those negative but exposed, we quarantine them for 2 weeks. So I think this is the initiative that we done, and today we managed to contain the infection in Pasar Borong, in the market. So we continue to screen the market today, but the positive rate is less than 1%. So that shows that we managed to contain the spread of COVID-19, and more important, to break the chain of the transmission.
Dato', satu soalan. Pesakit terakhir bagi kluster Sri Petaling ini merupakan kes ke-799. Jadi apakah menyebabkan penyakit ini berada agak lama di dalam rawatan di hospital, dan bilakah pesakit ini benarkan discharge? Terima kasih. Okey,
kes terakhir bagi kluster Sri Petaling dicatat oleh kes nombor 8367, iaitu lelaki warga negara Filipina yang merupakan pelajar di sebuah madrasah di Sungai Lui, Ulu Langat, dan kes ini adalah daripada subkluster Kampung Sungai Lui yang mencatatkan sebanyak 211 kes. Dan kontak rapat daripada subkluster ini telah ditempatkan di pusat kuarantin Institut Latihan Islam Malaysia, dan pada saringan ulangan yang dijalankan pada 10 Jun, beliau didapati positif tetapi tidak menunjukkan sebarang gejala. Beliau dimasukkan ke Hospital Sungai Buloh dan telah sembuh pada 24 Jun 2020. Dan kes sembuh yang terakhir bagi kluster Sri Petaling adalah kes nombor 799, iaitu lelaki berumur 83 tahun daripada Batu Pahat, Johor, yang merupakan generasi pertama bagi kluster ini. Kes ini adalah pada subkluster Majlis Perkahwinan Bandar Baru, Bangi, yang mencatatkan sebanyak 159 kes. Beliau mengalami simptom pada 9 Mac 2020 dan telah dimasukkan ke Hospital Permai, Johor pada 16 Mac 2020. Setelah dikesan positif COVID-19 pada keesokan harinya, beliau telah dipindahkan ke Hospital Encik Besar Haja Kalsum, Peluang. Semasa di hospital tersebut, beliau telah dimasukkan ke ICU dan discharge daripada ICU pada 21 Jun 2020. Beliau telah disahkan sembuh dan akhirnya discharge daripada hospital pada 6 Julai 2020, namun dimaklumkan kepada Kementerian Kesihatan pada 7 Julai 2020. Itulah kes terakhir yang kita ada.